Welcome back to round 3 coverage here at Liberty Garden in Brooklyn, New York at Kings Games. Joe Brown, content creator and latest Twitch partner, Tommy T-Man VGC Cooling. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You had a lot of fun in that video. We're here to bring you round 3 coverage, a really fun set between Jody Azzarelli and David Mancuso. Jody, one of our New York locals, has had some great finishes in his career, and David, coming out all the way from Ohio, took a drive earlier today. He said it wasn't that bad because the snow wasn't too much on the road, so he just flew by into New York here, and look at him, 2-0 right now, and he's on stream, so he's doing well.
Yeah, poised to make a kind of a comeback tour. It hasn't done too much in the last few seasons after coming off a very impressive regionals run at the end of the 2014 season, going into the 2015 season. But Jody, of course, that mainstay, second place at Worlds in that very, very awesome 2014 season. So again, both players that were very, very good at the back end of 2014, and kind of haven't done too much since, but are still widely respected players within the community.
Players with high potential.
Right. Yeah.
We've seen their potential ceiling, and it keeps getting higher and higher. Obviously, the only way for Jody to get higher is winning Worlds, because he got second at Worlds. But David Mancuso, with his regional championship, he can even improve, and I think that's what's exciting about early formats in general. Obviously, everyone's excited for VGC 18, but every year it seems like there are new players that become prominent that weren't around before, or they took a couple of years off and now they're back because they finally have that format that fits for them. So seeing players like Jody and David and other players that are here at our MSS today really thriving in the early game, in the early meta of VGC 18, it can only be a good sign for the longevity of the format.
Right. And this 2018 format is perfect for a lot of the the old VGC veterans to get back into the game. It is such a similar format to the VGC 2015 format that we had. Only a few Pokemon that were really key that were introduced in Pokemon Sun, Pokemon Moon, the Ultra Beast, the Alolan Guardians, the Tapus. So only a few little changes here and there, as well as some changes to how the Mega Evolutions work. So interested to see what we're going to see from both of these, veteran players that are kind of take their spin on what was a previously old format and, kind of breathe new life into it.
And Jody, typically, as we've seen him at a lot of our Liberty Garden events, he's won multiple Premier Challenges and always done well in every format that he's really tried to perform in. He's a player in his team-building group with his friends in this region and all across the country and around the world. Typically conventional or Pokemon that are generally considered, to be the top level of the format. So that's the type of player Jody is. He put some spins on it. I remember he ran the Contrary Superior at a Premier Town thing. So he does fun things like that, but especially back in the earlier formats, 15 and 16, he is a player that likes consistency over, crazy tech.
Yeah. We see a decent amount of this weird stuff coming out of that group, like you said. Him and longtime friend and New York, famous New York player Angel Miranda have been building together for years, as well as the other people in that group, and they've always turned out some of the more interesting teams in this format. And we are seeing a very interesting take on what Angel has called a VGC 17 team, as we're seeing Jody run a team that is very similar to a team that we saw a lot last year.
Right. It's funny since Jody's a player who didn't really participate too much in the VGC 17 format. So the first event of 2018, he runs VGC plus Mega Manectric, or 17 plus Manectric. So that's interesting that you're really carrying over what worked well in VGC 17 into the new year with some minor alterations. Yeah.
On David's side of the field, though, we have completely different. We have all the new mons, a lot of the things that we're seeing a lot of early on in the format. Charizard in particular has been seeing a large amount of play early on in this VC 18 format, joined by some newer friends. Crystalia's back, Landorus is back, and we are seeing Gen 7 Pokemon in Kartana and Tapu Koko, very, very strong Pokemon, as well as a Snorlax that has the Gluttony ability that has been improved in Generation 7. So a lot of new stuff on David's side of the field, but still very familiar stuff, things that we've seen a lot. We saw Charizard, Landorus, Cresselia, all back in 2015. We saw a lot of Kartana and Tapu Koko last format, as well as Snorlax. Very important Pokemon. It's it's kind of a marriage of the two formats if you want to look at it that way.
Charizard has really been a dominant threat as the prevailing mega choice for a lot of players early on in this format. So Pokemon that, let's say, Kartana on Jody's side, really scared with the presence of Charizard. So you got to wonder if Jody is going to bring that Kartana in game one. Of course, it is best of 3, so they have 3 games to kind of figure each other out, understand what their sets are. But this is going to be good. Players are going to be 3-0. There's 7 rounds. They're just going to be on that fast track towards top cut, whoever wins this round, with Jody Azarelli on the bottom of your screen and David Mancuso on the top. David leads Charizard and Tapu Koko as Jody opens with Alolan Persian and Manectric.
Yeah, so we get a very interesting lead here from Jody's side of the field, because the Mega Manectric does not have to go Mega. It can stay in its base form and use the Lightning Rod ability, which can deter Tapu Koko from going from the electric type attacks. However, with that dazzling game potential from the Tapu Koko, still being able to do large amounts of damage to the Persian as well as a decent chunk of damage to the Manectric, might not want to stay in that non-Mega form, especially since with the Mega Evolution and with the electric terrain, he'll get a sizable increase in power and potentially be able to just knock out this Charizard.
Tapu Koko switching out, understanding that he really can't get any attacks off because of Manectric's Lightning Rod. Landorus switching in and Intimidate, not going to matter too much against Jody's Pokemon on the field right now, but he is obviously pretty fast. A lot of Choice Scarf variants on Landorus. Let's see if that's what David is going for. Persian's Fake Out goes straight into Charizard's Protect there, and the Manectric's attack, Landorus was immune to, so that was a very good switch in for David.
Yeah, and with the Landorus on the field, David has a decent amount of pressure on this Manectric. We don't know if it's Scarf. We don't know if the Manectric is carrying something like a Hidden Power Ice. For certain though, Foul Play is definitely something that can do a lot of damage to that Landorus with such a high base attack stat.
Now that Jody sees Tapu Koko is not on the field, Mega Manectric is free to Mega Evolve here and use its own ability with that Intimidate, which will lower both the Landorus and Charizard's attack stats by 1 stage. Charizard Y also Mega Evolving here on this turn. It can't protect like it did last turn, so if Jody went for an electric attack into Charizard, that would be super effective and do a lot of damage. Sun is set up. It doesn't affect Charizard since he's a flying type, but the Earthquake is super effective on Manectric from Landorus. Not enough for a knockout there. Jody is excited about that, potentially doing that intentionally, kind of calculating to endure a spread Earthquake from that Thunderbolt. 1-hit knockout onto Charizard, so that goes down without really accomplishing anything. And Parting Shot from Persian will lower both of Landorus's attack and special attack as Persian switches out here. So Jody really looking good right now.
Yeah, that was a really brilliant play, and kind of shows why Jody did get second place at Worlds in 2014, such a high-caliber player. Getting the Intimidate down on the Landorus, allowing the Manectric to survive the Earthquake was absolutely huge there. And now that Landorus is on the field, we do know it is Choice Scarf. It did outspeed the Manectric, and now the Landorus is at 2 stages of lower attack instead of just the 1.
Tapu Koko coming back in here. Electric Terrain is already up. So Landorus, it's going to have to switch out here because a -2 Earthquake is really not going to do too much. Plus, he's next to Tapu Koko, who doesn't want to take an Earthquake. So we would see David's last Pokemon if that's what he goes for. Jody is actually going to switch out his Manectric here to recycle his Intimidate for later on. Persian coming back in. It can go for a Fake Out next turn. Landorus actually does go for an Earthquake.
Oh, wow, he is going for it. This might indicate a Electric MZ on the Tapu Koko. It's the only way he'd be able to, break the disguise on the Mimikyu and pick up the knockout. He needs to Earthquake himself and then go for the Gigavolt Havoc, and he is going to go for it. Wow.
There it is, Gigavolt Havoc from David. So David understanding that his Landorus, his damage has been neutered because of the Intimidate and the Parting Shot, so he's not going to knock out his own Tapu Koko, and this Gigavolt Havoc is going to go into Mimikyu with that busted disguise, and Mimikyu is going down.
Yeah, if you're afraid of a potential Snorlax in the back, the last thing you want to do is, give the Mimikyu the turn to set up Trick Room and then, lose that Snorlax. But now, with only 1 knockout being taken on David's side, he's actually free to switch out the Landorus and, bring it back in a much safer position.
And we know Jody's last Pokemon is his Mega Manectric, who does not want to switch in onto a potential Earthquake. So Snorlax does come out. Persian can go for a Fake Out this turn. Jody might expect Tapu Koko to be the only attacker, as Landorus can probably switch out here. So he might want to Fake Out that Tapu Koko this turn.
Yeah, and Jody can go for something like a Belly Drum or Curse, depending on which set is on this Snorlax. And like we said, the Landorus basically has to switch out here. Doesn't have really much of a choice. And we will see that Kartana as the last Pokemon, and that is a very good option for David to have.
Kartana can deal, depending on the type of set it has. A lot of Kartanas can deal with Snorlax. Tapu Koko protects. Persian's Fake Out goes into that Protect, so that's 2 times now that David has called the correct Fake Out that Jody was going for. Curse from Jody, so Curse will increase his attack and defense by 1 stage at the cost of lowering his speed by 1. So the Snorlax is slower, but it really doesn't care about being fast. It just wants to get strong.
Yeah, and with the Sacred Sword potential on the Kartana, and it will ignore the boost on the Snorlax, but the 1 HP survival, wow.
Wow. Persian is able to eat its Mago Berry and recover all of that HP most of the HP that it lost, as Tapu Koko switching out from the Volt Switch into Landorus and Intimidate. So Snorlax's attack is now back to neutral after that Curse, because it was +1. So it's not going to do as much as Jody would like in this situation. Persian, another parting shot. That's pretty much Persian's role here, lowering Kartana's attack and special attack by 1 stage. He's going to have to switch in to his Manectric here, which is another Intimidate. Kartana now -2 and Landorus -1.
Yeah, that makes a huge difference, since if that knockout, if that Volt Switch did pick up the knockout on the Persian, that would be a Kartana that is firing off a Sacred Sword at full health, but now it is a -2 attack stat and not doing that much damage at all.
Sacred Sword would really need to be to have a critical hit to do anything. Frustration from Snorlax onto Landorus does pretty much exactly 50%, so another one would potentially knock it out. But that Kartana is going to have to switch in, and Jody knows it's Tapu Koko, so he can be prepared for it.
Yeah, and Manectric can also just Volt Switch out here and try and reset even more Intimidates, get the parting shot back in, just keep making sure that Kartana can't touch the Snorlax, since that term is absolutely huge. The Sacred Sword would have done around half, and that would have been really huge damage to the Kartana to get on the Snorlax.
Landorus, actually, with the U-turn, it is Choice Scarf, so it's faster than Mega Manectric, is able to secure the knockout onto Manectric because it was so low on its HP already. So even though it was intimidated, he was able to get the knockout. Tapu Koko switching in will set up Electric Terrain again on the field, so his Thunderbolts will do more damage to that Snorlax. Kartana, usually offensive in 2017, gained access to Tailwind as a move tutor, so now Kartana's Run Tailwind. I think David is okay with losing the Tapu Koko there, because now he can bring in his Landorus for free, and he has Tailwind up anyway.
Yeah, that was a bit of an interesting play from David, because by leaving his Kartana in here, he basically has to roll with a Kartana with a reduced attack stat for the rest of the game, since he's down to his last 2 Pokemon. But the Tailwind's pretty cool here, since he's able to now outspeed that Persian and not take a foul play from the Persian, which even with the reduced attack stat will still do a decent amount of damage to the Kartana. And Kartana's going to be the way that David wins this game. He's going to need to maybe get a crit with Leaf Blade. That's definitely potential with the hiding crit chance. Otherwise, just throwing out some Sacred Swords on it. And we're going to have to see what move Landorus locks into. Maybe something like a knockoff or a superpower would be most likely here. Maybe just a Rock Slide and just try and flinch the Snorlax out of the game.
And Snorlax can't try to bulk up with its curses, because Sacred Sword ignores the stat boost there. Superpower from Landorus into Snorlax, super effective, bringing it down to very low HP. Snorlax is in the red, but it will lower both of Landorus' attack and defense by 1 stage. Snorlax is okay. He eats his Aya Papa Berry, no problem. And because of the Fake Out, Kartana is not able to attack. Frustration does get a knockout on Landorus, so it is now Kartana at -2 Both of Jody's Pokemon are weak to fighting, so if he can get a critical hit, that would be imperative for for David right now. Excuse me.
Yeah, that was interesting play with David, hoping that you just get the crit there and pick up the knockout. And Leaf Blade is not going to do enough to pick up the Persian here, so still not the end of the world. If he does get a crit, Snorlax really shouldn't be able to do that much damage to the Kartana. So it's not over yet for David. The Kartana does have the chance to crit Leaf Blades here, and it looks like after one more attack onto the Persian, he could potentially pick up a knockout here. With the extra parting shot, it might take 2 more hits, but again, all it takes is 1 or 2 Leaf Blade crits here, and David's back in this game.
That parting shot, it's a problem because you see Persian as a supportive Pokemon. You're not really worried about it. You see, Snorlax, Manectric, Mimikyu, these Pokemon have so much more they're offering, and he can just sit there constantly with that parting shot. And David is really going to have to rely on critical hits, but the Kartana is known for critical hits. Especially last format with some of the items it was running. So Snorlax is going to curse this turn. Tailwind peters out. Not too important there, but he's going to curse just to raise its attack, just so it does more damage to Kartana, because again, the defense boost won't matter.
Yeah, and the foul play here being faster than the Kartana really won't matter too much, since it does have all those reduced stages of attack. And I think it's really just going to come down to here if David can crit the Snorlax, and the best way for him to do that is to hopefully just get the Snorlax down into the range that, it's right over 50% so it doesn't activate the berry, and then you hope that you crit a Leaf Blade or a Sacred Sword from there. I don't know if the Leaf Blade would be enough even with a crit. He might need to crit a Sacred Sword, but ideally you just want to be right over half so you don't activate that berry.
Right, and depending on the damage rolls, he could potentially survive 1 or 2 more of those high horsepowers. Of course, it also has the chance to miss. It does not for Jody. So he can actually...
Oh, wow.
He was in the red. Jody smiling there. That's some interesting... an item there from a Guave Berry on Kartana. So it just regained all that HP. And Kartana just needs 1 crit.
This might be it.
No, it's not. It just barely gets him to over 1 or to under 50% HP, and he gets to recover all of that HP up from high horsepower. I wonder if Sacred Sword would have been better there, and you just hope for the natural critical hit instead of the Leaf Blade in increased chance of a critical hit there.
Yeah, at this point in the game, you have to go for the Sacred Sword. I think right above half where he was, he probably could have gone for that Leaf Blade and hope he gets the crit with just over half health. And let's see if this Sword kind of can take this. I don't think it can. Oh, just hangs on.
It just survives. So Kartana needs that Sacred Sword. I still don't know even if it would be enough with a critical hit. So Leaf Blade gonna not do nearly enough damage. Frustration knocks out Kartana. Our players shake hands, and Jody wins game 1 here in round 3.
Yeah, I think that David just did not expect the Persian to survive the Volt Switch. Maybe if he goes for something like a Thunderbolt in that situation, he's in a much better spot. He has the Kartana that can deal with the Snorlax that he knows he has, and the game is just down to Manectric and the Snorlax against he has the Landers left, he'd have the Coco left, he'd have the Kartana left. Kartana specifically with 2 Mons that are faster than the Persian that can knock out the Persian before Kartana even hits the field. So definitely a game that David I think was well within reach of winning. Just a little bit of extra damage he needed on that Persian just to take that out a little bit earlier in the game. If he's able to do that, then he can get Kartana in a much safer position to clean up the Snorlax in the end game, since I think that we're starting to see the Snorlax is going to be one of the things that David has such a hard time dealing with, to the point where last game he went for that Earthquake. He hit his own Coco so he could break the skies on the Mimikyu and went for the Gigavolt Havoc. And again, 2 very high caliber players making some very high caliber plays, and realizing that he needs to do that to prevent the Snorlax from just winning the game on its own, and at least getting himself in a position where his Kartana could have won the game, just didn't happen to pan out with that roll on the Volt Switch.
That was a really cool turn with that double with the EQ Gigavolt Havoc. We're gonna get into team preview here. We're gonna get out of it because our players know what to do. I think David has a lot of fast Pokemon, and of course the Persian can only fake out one of them. So if he leads Landorus, Tapu Koko, or something like that, Kartana has access to Tailwind, as we saw. So there's ways for him to be faster than that Persian, so he can try to get rid of it before Persian can get a bunch of parting shots off, like we saw in game 1. Jody leading with that Manectric Persian, and David in game 2 has Landorus and Cresselia, so switching it up here.
Yeah, Cresselia definitely a big change from the game one. I don't know exactly how he thinks it's going to help him in this game. Perhaps he thinks that maybe the speed control will put him in a much better spot in this game. Cresselia, a Pokemon with very many tools that are at its access, and most of them in the realm of speed control. So definitely a few options here, and definitely not something that you would dislike against a team with fast Pokemon like Manectric and Persian.
Mega Manectric will set up that Intimidate, so now Landorus is at -1. In Earthquake, we saw it was not enough to knock out Mega Manectric last time, but he's actually not even going to get a chance to knock it out as Fake Out goes into the Landorus Volt Switch from Manectric onto Cresselia, and he's going to switch in something else, potentially the Snorlax or the Mimikyu, since they were who he also brought in Game 1. And here it is, the Snorlax. So, pretty much has a free turn. Snorlax isn't going to take any damage on this, except for the Icy Wind, which is really negligible. What it does do for David, Icy Wind will lower both of Jody's Pokemon speed by 1 stage. So, if he can just keep Icy Winding, that Persian is eventually going to be pretty slow, and it's going to need to switch out.
Yeah, the only thing that's unfortunate about that is Persian probably wants to get out of here anyway. Just throw a parting shot either into the Cresselia or into the Landorus. Most likely into the Landorus slot, since Landorus has to either go for a U-turn or hard switch out here in the face of Persian, because it really can't do much else.
U-turn super effective, but really not stab, so he doesn't get a boost because he's not a bug type. So not enough damage onto the Persian, not as much as he would like, as David would like to do. Tapu Koko switching in on this turn, so that will set up the electric terrain. Probably the Persian is still the second fastest on the field, so a parting shot into Tapu Koko doesn't hurt as much as it would have on Landorus, so David is kind of okay with that as Persian switches out to preserve its Fake Out and parting shots for later. Back comes Mega Manectric, which is an excellent play, excellent positioning from Jody, because, or actually, he doesn't have Lightning Rod anymore, but he still is an electric type that would resist it. Icy Wind will lower the speed of both Manectric and Snorlax, and now Tapu Koko is faster than Mega Manectric after the Icy Wind.
Yeah, and as we saw, the Koko did get the lower stage of special attack, as it's going to take about 60% here from that frustration. But like the Persian that just switched out with Parting Shot, Tapu Koko does have that Volt Switch as we saw in Game 1, so is able to reset its own special attack stat, but has to switch something in on the Snorlax here, which can fire up just a big return into that Koko slot and do a lot of damage.
Cresselia switching out into Landorus on this turn, another Intimidate, really only doing that to hinder Snorlax's damage output. Who knows if Tapu Koko can survive another frustration? Probably not, but we're not going to find out because Mimikyu switches out, so that Intimidate was all for naught on this turn. Tapu Koko protecting, so Manectric's going to be the only person who gets an attack off here. Volt Switch into Tapu Koko's Protect, so no damage coming out from either player on this turn.
Yeah, I wonder if a Gigavolt Havoc would be able to pick up a Mimikyu at -1. I highly doubt it, but that's that option because Landorus is on the field now. And if that is the case, you wonder what David wants to go for here. He's going for a Rock Slide, allows him to potentially flinch the Mimikyu while breaking the disguise. And we are going to see the Koko switch out, which might indicate that he doesn't want to make any risky plays and might just accept that Trick Room might be going up here.
Cresselia has Levitate, so if Landorus went for an Earthquake, it wouldn't be hurting his teammate like David did in Game 1. That is what David goes for. An Earthquake into Persian, and Mimikyu will break Mimikyu's disguise, will not knock out the Persian there. So Jody can stick around next turn and Fake Out and potentially go for another parting shot. It's going to increase a lot more of its HP due to that Mago Berry on this turn. And we're actually going to get a Z-move here from Jody, that wonderful animation from Mimikyu that everybody is just loving here in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Look at him. You can do it, Mimikyu. Let's snuggle forever.
I hate this Z-move. I hate the animation. It creeps me out. I'm not okay with it. But it is very strong is what it is, and it is likely going to pick up a knockout on this Landorus. It's going to do a lot of damage if it doesn't. Just being a lot stronger than that Fairy MZ that Mimikyu used to carry last.
Well, you've never seen a Landorus and immediately wanted to cuddle with it? It's just so cuddly and adorable. I understand what Mimikyu's going after.
I just feel bad for Landorus. I'd feel violated if I was a Landorus.
At least he gets to see what's actually underneath Mimikyu, though, right? Because he's in there
I'm
with it.
pretty sure everybody dies when they do that. Like, Landorus should be dead right now. I don't know what happened. It's just hanging on with a thread here.
Well, luckily for Lander, it's Pokemon Faint. So he's going to stay around in Earthquake again. We saw it did not do too much damage to Persian this time, so he would be able to take that like a champ. And Mimikyu would probably get knocked out by another one, but not at this point because Parting Shot will lower Landorus' attack yet again. And Jody has just really been able in this entire set to just position well and cycle in his Pokemon at the right time. Here's Snorlax. He's going to do a lot of damage on the next turn with the Snorlax. And Psychic does really not too much damage. Is enough for knockout. It is, actually. So the Psychic from Cresselia, don't see Cresselia as picking up too many knockouts in any format, but this time around it does on Mimikyu.
We talked about in Game 1 how important that Trick Room is for Jody, and to the extent that, David did hit his own Koko to stop Trick Room from going up in Game 1. But because that Let's Snuggle Forever missed the knockout on the Landorus, the Parting Shot instead hits the Landorus instead of the Cresselia and allows Cresselia to pick up the knockout on that Mimikyu, stopping Trigger from going up. But, Persian's still enough to help Persian, Persian's enough to help Snorlax set up a little bit here in a pretty solid spot.
Landorus expecting the Fake Out to go into that slot. That is what happened. So David made the right call. Fake Out into Kartana. Icy Wind from Cresselia, so that's going to lower their speeds again. Not enough for a knockout, but with how we saw that damage roll that time, if it's the same amount, another Icy Wind would be enough for a knockout onto a low-wind Persian. Jody setting up Curse Lax like he did in Game 1, increasing attack and defense by 1 stage and lowering its speed.
Yeah, we do know that this Persian is now slower than the Kartana after the Icy Wind, and with that being the case, Kartana has to deal with the Snorlax, and it is in a very good spot to do so since Cresselia can keep firing off Icy Winds and keep lowering the speed stat of whatever is sitting next to the Snorlax, whether it be the Persian or the Manectric, and Kartana should always be faster than whatever that Pokemon is. So Kartana's in a very good spot to kind of take over this game and not allow Jody to win the same way he won Game 1 by just having that Snorlax live forever.
And David has the Pokemon advantage right now with the 4-3. Kartana really not threatened. Leaf Blade onto Persian, knocks it out. Thankfully, from that Icy Wind, Kartana moves first there. We'll get a Beast Boost, so when with the Intimidate potential, Kartana will enjoy that Beast Boost since it's really not going to be neutered. It's going to be at neutral attack. High horsepower onto Kartana does pretty solid amount of damage there, considering it's not super effective, and the Snorlax only has 1 boost in its attack. So Manectric, as I was just saying, the Intimidate, that Beast Boost kind of counters it, and it's just a kind of a net gain, and with the +1, then the -1 equals 0 last time I checked.
Yeah, this might be a pretty important turn, whether or not, David can call Manectric either protecting or going for an attack into the Kartana. And looks like he's going to call the Manectric going for a fire move, and looks like he called it correctly.
Thunderbolt from Manectric into Kartana's Detect, so no damage. Icy Wind connects on both, which is a factor. Critical hit not really mattering there, but Icy Wind has the potential to miss, so it would have been rough for David if Icy Wind missed on Manectric, but now Kartana will be faster. Snorlax eats that Eye of Papa Berry, will use another curse. I think Jody is comfortable just having his Snorlax kind of boost up on this turn.
Yeah, if you're Jody here, because the Icy Wind is now on your Manectric, maybe your goal here is maybe to try to crit the Kartana with a high horsepower here, since high horsepower should activate that berry that we did see activate in Game 1 on the Kartana. And Manectric likely wants to protect here, not want to take a Leaf Blade. And over the next 2 turns, Leaf Blades can be fired off into the Manectric slot pretty freely until he eventually takes a knockout, and he should be able to take a knockout on the Manectric before Snorlax is able to high horsepower the Kartana for a KO as well.
Cresselia withdrawing into Landorus, who is pretty close to being knocked out, but just wants to get one last Intimidate in, just make it harder for that Snorlax to boost up with his curses, increasing his attack. Manectric knocked out from the Leaf Blade. Kartana getting another Beast Boost, so he's gotten 2 knockouts in this game, but he is only +1 in his attack. Frustration, ineffective on Kartana, brings it down to the red, which will activate Kartana's Aguave Berry So Landorus sticks around for another turn, and we might see a forfeit since both these Pokemon can handle Snorlax right now.
Yeah, I think that Jody wanted to see the return not do enough damage to activate the berry on the Kartana, hopefully picking up a knockout the following turn with either a return or a highest horsepower, but not the case. Kartana activating its berry, eating up, and picking up a crucial knockout on the Manectric. So we are going to go into a game 3, and I think David made some pretty good adjustments. The Cresselia, a very interesting mon to bring to this matchup, but as we saw, Icy Wind was very, very crucial to deal with the person, deal with the Manectric, just continually lowering their speed stats so that Kartana and Tapu Koko could outspeed them and do very, very good damage and pick up knockouts where otherwise they put a lot of pressure on the Kartana, which is one of David's best ways to deal with Jody Snorlax.
Right, we were talking about how David needs to make an adjustment there of not letting Persian just run rampant, lowering all of David's Pokemon's attacks. So he was able to adjust. The Cresselia, we were wondering at first, oh, why would you bring it in? But the Icy Wind really was helpful because Icy Wind, there's different stages. So it lets Tapu Koko outspeed Manectric. Icy Wind let the Kartana outspeed Alolan Persian. So there were just little variances like that where David understands his speed tiers and knowing the turns that Pokemon were going to move in after an Icy Wind, where now Jody is on the ropes. He has to make the adjustment because there are Pokemon that David can bring that will threaten the Persian.
Yeah, if Jody can get that Trick Room that he tried to get in both games 1 and 2 and did not quite manage to get, Snorlax might be in a little bit better position to take over the game, since while Kartana can deal with the Snorlax pretty well, none of the rest of the mons on Jody's team really like to deal with that Snorlax. And by getting the Trick Room, you give Snorlax a lot more wiggle room to kind of just fire off some big returns and get some big damage on the field. And Trick Room allows him to do that, as well as having that Mimikyu Z move, also another huge source of damage potential that is even more potent when you are moving before the opposing team's Pokemon.
Right, trying to have excuse me, maybe even keeping the Manectric without its Mega Evolution, so the Tapu Koko cannot really Volt Switch and switch around and try to get into the Landorus with the free Intimidates. But Game 3, Jody Azraeli on the bottom. With an adjustment, Tapu Fini and Kartana as David Mancuso on the top of your screen. Landorus and Cresselia, which was great for him in Game 2. Earthquake, just like in Game 2, Cresselia still has Levitate, so not going to get hit by that. Earthquake not super effective on either of Jody's Pokemon, so not doing too much. But Jody has Soak Tapu Fini, so that will change Cresselia's typing from Psychic into Water, and Kartana is really happy about that because of this Gracium Z, this super effective Bloom Doom.
Oh, looks like we're going really far back into the 2017 mines to grab the Scarfini with the Soak and then the Bloom Doom from the Kartana, and that should absolutely be enough to pick up a knockout on this Cresselia, and it actually hangs on, wow, showing the massive bulk from Cresselia, and that's absolutely pivotal here.
That is really impressive that Cresselia can survive that super effective attack. Psychic, an ineffective attack, but does bring Kartana under half HP. So potentially another Earthquake would be able to knock out Kartana. But Tapu Fini has to switch out since it is Choice Scarf into Soak. Needs to switch out so next time it's out on the field it can use a different move. Snorlax in that slot. Cresselia, Helping Hand, and the Landorus would go for an Earthquake. It's only going to hit Snorlax on this turn because Kartana goes for Detect. But Helping Hand, Earthquake is a really strong combination that a lot of players love with Cresselia and Landorus. Into Snorlax does just under half of Snorlax's HP, so it is not enough to activate Snorlax's Figgy Berry.
Now that looks like it could be in the range that maybe another Helping Hand Earthquake with a different role could potentially dodge the berry and pick up a knockout, which is absolutely huge if you're David. You just keep going for Helping Hand Earthquake. You'll definitely pick up a knockout on the Kartana. You have a chance to pick a knockout on the Snorlax, and I think if you have the chance, you should go for it. And it looks like it's exactly what he's doing.
Helping Hand Earthquake going to do the same thing that he's been doing. There's really no answer that Jody has to this option. So is it enough for a knockout on Snorlax. It doesn't look like it. No, Kartana goes down, but Snorlax sticks around with hardly any HP remaining. It will eat that Figgy Berry. Maybe next time, David, for your Helping Hand Earthquake, but Snorlax is sticking around for a curse.
Yeah, and after this curse, Helping Hand Earthquake definitely not going to be able to pick up a knockout without a crit on this Snorlax. So depending on what Jody decides to bring in here, he can, maybe put a little bit more pressure on the Landers, force it to switch out, and it really doesn't look like it's going to be with that Feeny. So yeah, it is going to be the Manectric.
Manectric, his Mega Pokemon, we were assuming he had to make an adjustment with Persian because David was able to answer it in Game 2, and his adjustment is to not bring it. We know that he has the Scarf Finny. Cresselia is still a water type right now. It doesn't have a water move, but that means it's not going to get a boost on its Psychic here. Mega Manectric it's free to Mega Evolve if it wants, but it still is threatened. Jody does not have a good answer right now to Helping Hand Earthquake.
Yeah, I think we just see Helping Hand Earthquake turn after turn, and eventually the Feeny will go down. Eventually the Manectric will go down, and then when that does happen, Kartana will come in and should be able to deal with the Snorlax. So just going to likely just keep clicking Helping Hand Earthquake every single turn.
But now Earthquake being intimidated, Manectric protecting. Next turn it will be faster. The Earthquake is going to be hindered from the Intimidate, and Snorlax also cursed last turn. So it is essentially a +2 in its defense right now because of that.
The crit.
Critical
wow.
hit. So Jody is not able to endure too many of those Helping Hand Earthquakes. Critical hit from Landorus, just what you want to see from a Landorus in this format. And David is going to be able to win this round 3 matchup, unless Tapu Fini with the Choice Scarf could have Ice Beam. Not going to be able enough, though, to take out 4 Pokemon.
Yeah, I think that after that Boom Dude failed to pick up the knockout on the Cresselia, I think Jody kind of went everything in on that. He wanted that knockout on the Cresselia on turn 1 and expected to pick up the knockout, but by failing to pick up the knockout, he allowed the Landorus to just sit on the field and click Earthquake every single turn and didn't really have any thing to switch in and stop it. And because that Manectric was in the back and did not have the Intimidator ready to switch in, he could just switch it in and hope he could cycle Intimidates until the Landorus is forced to switch out. He just had to switch in, take a Helping Hand Earthquake every single turn.
Yeah, there's a lot of Tapu Fini sets. Obviously, Soak, Scarf, Fini. It's there, but it's not that common. It has done really well at different big events, so I can understand why Jody would work for it. He waited, or would run it. He waited till Game 3 to reveal that information, so David was not prepared for it. But it was so close. Do you think David knows his calculations on when Cresselia is a water type and gets hit from a blue tube? That's tough to be prepared for in this format.
Yeah, and maybe in last format that's something that you definitely want to calc for, since Scarf Soak Tapu Fini was very, very common for the most part towards the latter end of the season. But in 2018, that's not something we expect to see really that often. So really interesting tech there by Jody, but. Luckily for David, did not pick up the knockout, does not pan out, and it ended a very interesting series.
And luckily for all of you at home watching on Twitch, we're going to have a player interview with David Mancuso right when we come back after this break. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. This is Liberty Garden.
We're back, and we're here with David Mancuso, winner of round 3. So welcome, David, and great game.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I think everyone wants to know your thoughts going into that game 3 and seeing the the Tapu Fini and the Kartana lead, both mons that we had not seen from Jody previously in the set.
Mm-hmm. I was more worried about Mimikyu setting up Trick Room because I couldn't really do much once Mimilex was set up, like Psych Up, Belly Jump. I don't know if he has that. We didn't see the information, but I was worried about that because I could really put a dent in my team, and I would have to play around Intimidate, bring Cresselia, and potentially reverse the Trick Room. We don't know.
Yeah.
Obviously, wink. But I wasn't when he led Feeny Kartana. I led just Landorus, Cresselia, so I could just Helping Hand, Earthquake, or Icy Wind or whatever. Or Icy Wind, but I felt like Psycho would be much better because I can get enough chip to Helping Hand Earthquake kill the following turn and get a double knockout if he doesn't switch in.
Yeah,
so.
I think it was very clear about how much you wanted to stop that Trick Room going on in Game 1 when you went for the the Earthquake into your own Tapu Koko that you needed to do to break the disguise on that Mimikyu, and then going for the Gigavolt Havoc to pick up the knockout, which was a very interesting play, but it's a play that you basically needed to make. Like you said, that Trick Room is so devastating when it goes up because Snorlax is very, very threatening to your team, and it's a very, very cool play. Like, what do you think went wrong in Game 2? Obviously, Snorlax became a little bit more of a problem.
Yeah, Snorlax, I didn't feel like it became more of a problem. I kind of just ignored it until the end game because I had Coco and I have Z-Move, and I can Helping Hand Z-Move Oko it. So, or just do enough to like Thunderbolt KO as well. But I could just recycle Intimidates, kill the partners, so there was nothing left for him to really do but keep recycling or keep attacking. So I wanted to put him into a position where he was trapped. And by me preserving both Coco and Kartana at the end game, I felt like I could just do that freely.
Yep. So David here at 3-0. Anything you want to say before we sign off into round 4 here?
Just shout out to Apple Pie and the Toucans. I got the team from Apple Pie. Thank you very much, man.
Took. All right, guys. We'll see you back in round 4. David trying to make it into Top Cut, and we'll be back we'll be back with some great matches here in round 4. So make sure to stay tuned, guys, and we'll see you next round.
Bless up.